Hey there, welcome to the how-to section for the settings. So right now you're probably already logged in and you're looking at all of this, and it might be a little bit too much because there is a lot to look at. So I want you to grab your device. So here I'm going to be using an iPad. You could be using a laptop, a smaller device, even your smartphone, whatever it might be. Again, anything that has browser support now can use Spectre Cloud. Head on over to cloud.spectrebowling.com, put in your credentials, and you're going to hit the login button. Okay, so once we get logged in, we're going to see our dashboard. Where we want to go first is obviously here into the settings section. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to look at here at the top is going to be our language settings. So as we can see, we have English, French, and Spanish. Okay, it toggles right away, super quick and easy. And if you speak a different language and would like it to be embedded into Spectre, please let us know. We can send you the file and you can help us translate it. We would appreciate that. Next up, let's go into the auto suggestions. Okay, so the first one is going to be the pitch suggestion. Okay, so what this will do is based on the thumb flexibility and the full span that you will put in, it will be able to give you a suggested pitch. Okay, so that is what that setting does. So if you turn that off, it will not give you a pitch suggestion. The auto CLT is, so depending on how the fingers will lay on the center line, you can change the lateral pitches based on that. Okay. Flip lateral pitches, left and left, right, flip lateral pitches for lefties or for righties. If I go here and change the bowler hand from left-handed to right-handed, you'll see that those lateral pitches on the fingers will change. Okay, so that is another neat feature in the settings. Autofill bridge, depending on the grip type. So here with fingertip, it's suggesting a quarter, but if we were to go to conventional, it will change the lateral pitches and also change the bridge. So again, just giving you nice suggestions. And again, this is on a brand new spec sheet. So as soon as we create it, it's going to pre-fill that data in, so making it a little bit simpler. Next is going to be the autofill insert. I'm also going to go to the other ones here where we see autofill insert type and auto repeat insert size. Okay, so since all of those three are on, we're going to go back to our spec sheet. So now that we're back in our bowler profile, we can go into the insert type on the middle finger. I'm going to pick the first one on the list here, Trusty Turbo Quad Oval. And you see it will duplicate. It will go from the middle finger to the ring finger. Again, just making it a lot quicker once you're doing data entry. You don't have to tap twice. Okay. Next thing is going to be the insert size. So as we see here in the list, it only gives us the available sizes for that insert type that we picked. So I'm going to pick 3/4 here. And you're going to see it's going to suggest an outer diameter automatically of 31/32. So you can always override it. But again, this is what that auto suggestion will do. And lastly, the auto suggestion for autofilling the other insert. So as you can see, it duplicated it at 3/4. The reason behind that is because now if I tap on the 3/4, typically the bowler will be either 1 or 2 sizes below it. So it already puts that drop down in that location, making the data entry process that much quicker. Next, let's go into the system defaults. So our system defaults will be, once we open a window, that's what will show up first. So as we all know, there's more righties in the world than lefties. So by default, when you open a spec sheet, it will default to being a right-handed bowler. You can always change that. Again, this is just going to be as soon as the window opens. Next up, grip type. Most often than none, we're doing fingertip versus conventional. So we put fingertip as a system default. Oval degree increments. When you are cutting an oval, you usually measure in 5-degree increments. So let's say, do you do an oval of, let's say, 30 or 35 degrees, or do you do a 32-degree oval? If you want to go down to the nth degree, you're going to want to switch that to 1 degree. Next up is going to be our pitch display. How do we want it? Do we want it in thousandths of an inch, or do we want it in fractions? Okay. So as we see here on the spec sheet, if I pick, let's say, a reverse, it shows me all the measurements now in fractions. But let's say I personally use the digital readouts downstairs and I want to see it in thousandths of an inch. So we just change it to that. We go back to our spec sheet, and now we will see that in all of the measurement tiles, we now see it in thousandths of an inch. Okay, and also when we click on one of the tiles, We will see also its fraction equivalent to make it easy on the eyes as well once we're picking where to go. Next, we'll go into the display measurements and the pitch measurements. Okay, so as we noticed as I was clicking those tiles, it was giving me 30 seconds, 16ths, so on and so forth. That's because in my settings, I'm set at 30 seconds. So personally, I like seeing my pitches in 16ths, and I like seeing my measurements in 16th plus. So what that means, instead of seeing 30 seconds, I like seeing, let's say, 4 1/16th plus, which is going to be, for me, 4 3/30 seconds. Okay? So let's go back here into our spec sheet, again, just to show you really quickly. And let's go here to the ring finger measurement that we never populated. So we see here 4 3/8, 4 3/8 plus, 4 7/16, and 3/8. Actually, I'll go here 4 3/8 plus. And now for the pitches, we will now only see 16ths where before it was 30 seconds. Okay, so as you can see, it just minimizes what you see in the drop down, and if you don't need it, you don't need it. That's fine. Next, let's go into the thumb hole preferences. Okay, so again, this is going to be very similar to our system defaults, but this will be how the system will use the oval calculator more specifically, in addition to something that we're going to be mentioning here in a little bit. So by default, when I create a new spec sheet, I typically will fit, 95% of my clients as an oval, because not everyone has a round thumb. So by default, it will be selected as an oval. You can always change that again in the spec sheet. Next up, when it regards to how you cut your ovals. So again, going back to the oval calculator, this is going to be a key principle moving forward. Okay. So I'll show on the screen here 4 different measurements for the exact same thumb hole. Okay. So do you want basically your thumb pitch to be in the front of the hole, or do you want it to be in the middle of the hole? Okay. Different people learn at a different way to cut ovals. Some start from the top of the hole and work their way down, with the pitch being at the top of the hole, and others will work from the middle. So let's say we drill a thumb slug into a bowling ball with a quarter reverse. We will put that thumb slug at a quarter reverse, and basically our machine is set with the middle at a quarter reverse, and then we basically will move the table plus or minus away from that middle. That's how I like to do it, so that's why mine is set to center. Next will be the add thumb pitch to oval calculation. This is a really neat process again. I have it set to yes right now in my settings. You can set it to no. So on your digital readouts, if you are used to reinitializing your readouts before cutting your oval, so basically you hit 0, 0 on both of them, you want to put this at no. If you don't touch them and you leave them as is, so again, we're going to use that quarter reverse, and it says 250 on your digital readout, and you basically just do the math plus or minus 250 from there, click yes on that, okay? And that will basically give you that starting point of the pitch that you already put in the hole. Next up will be the oval cut move direction, okay? So do you make your moves vertical or horizontal, basically going with the movement of the table in 2 axes? Or do you have, let's say, an ovalmatic jig where you will be twisting the ball, okay, and moving the table at 30 degrees and then just moving either horizontally or vertically? That's what you're going to have. The none basically will remove that calculate button, and you will be able to input your oval cuts manually. So if you don't do the way that we teach it through trigonometry, and you want to do it your own way, you can definitely just hit none and then just keep adding your tiles as you want. Okay, so that's going to be the thumb hole preferences. Now moving on, we're going to go into the drill press calibration here in the settings. This is very important for the oval calculator. Okay, so this is going to be probably, I would say, out of all of this, if you want to turn everything off, that's fine, but make sure you do your drill press calibration. This is going to be very, very important. Okay, so let's read that tile there. It says, does your machine display right pitch positive? Okay, so go to your machine, move the table to the right, and I want you to tell me what your digital readout reads. Is it positive or negative? If it's positive, put yes. If it's negative, put no. That's going to be very important in the oval calculation process. Same thing for the forward and reverse. Does your machine display forward thumb pitch positive? Okay, so pretend like you're drilling something with a 1/4 inch forward in the thumb. What does your machine read out? Positive or negative? You can also change the settings in your digital readout However, we didn't want to go through that entire process because there's so many different types out there. So we just included it in our math. So like that, you don't have to go nuts and changing that on every one of your digital readouts. You just need to change it here in Spectre. Lastly, one of the neat little things that we put here is the display plus minus in the pitch tiles. And this is really neat because whenever you teach someone brand new in the Pro Shop game, you will notice that they make a lot of mistakes in the direction in which the table moves. So if you see here on my spec sheet right now, we see here at negative 188, that basically is going to tell whoever is drilling downstairs in the Pro Shop to make sure to go in the right direction. So they might be thinking, oh, I'm going in the right direction, but it says positive 188. Now they can easily see it with the positive and negative symbols here in the pitch settings. So that is going to be a very, very nice to have right there. And then lastly, the layout preferences. Okay, this is going to be when we create a brand new ball. So we're going to go into our complete arsenal here. And we're going to add a new bowling ball. And we see that by default it is selected to VLS. So again, if this is something that you want to change, you could change it on the ball level as well. Okay, so now it just changes everything for dual angles. So again, that is a quick overview of all the settings. This video was a little bit long, but I think it's worth it because there's a lot to take in regards to a lot of what we have baked into Spectre. And I feel that this is why Spectre is widely used around the world in most pro shops, is because of its efficiencies. And as you see in the settings, yes, it is a little bit complicated at times, but the reason it's there is to make your life simpler. My personal suggestion, turn everything on, check your calibration settings, put the settings on how you like to cut ovals, and you're off to the races. Thank you again for choosing Spectre for your Pro Shop needs and using Spectre Pro Shop software. And again, please write to us at info@spectrebowling.com if you have any questions, comments, or if you would like me to hold your hand a little bit more throughout this entire onboarding process. And just a little reminder that all the settings that you put in belong to that tablet. So if I made my settings on my iPad a certain way, and I'm going to be using, let's say, my iPhone on the road a little bit, make sure to do the same changes to the settings on your phone as well, because it won't go from this to this. We basically register the settings per device. So that is going to be something that you're going to have to do on all your devices. So make sure to check that out and make sure that you remember what you put. Thank you for using Spectre Pro Shop software in your Pro Shop.